Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Thursday, March 28th, 2019. Got a great story for you guys, and I have a lot of commentary on it, so I'm going to try and keep it as quick as I can. It says, Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. And basically it starts out like this. Recently, an American colleague commented to me, we no longer live in a democracy, but a dictatorship disguised as a democracy. Is he correct? Let's go through some things here real quick. It's very important to get through we're going to define some terms here real quick. Democracy. Now, we can go with what Thomas Jefferson said democracy was. Democracy is nothing more than mob rule, where 51% can vote away the rights of the other 49. Benjamin Franklin has been credited as saying, democracy is like two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for dinner. Very well stated, it says here. So let's go through some terms. Democracy is mob rule. 51% vote and they get what they want. And so 51% vote together and they have the same, basically the same goal, and they all vote the same way, then they get what they want. That's a democracy, which we do not have here in America, with the one exception is our voting system. That is the only thing in our government in the United States that can be considered a democracy. Now, that is if you believe the vote is not manipulated, because actually the vote is manipulated. There's tons and tons of data on this. Stories that come out constantly with every election about manipulation of the vote. We can talk about that another time. So basically, capitalism has failed, is what this is basically about. Well, is that true? Are we capitalist here in the United States? No, we're not, because capitalism means free markets. So do we have free markets in the United States? The answer is no. The stock market is rigged. If you want to go with high frequency trading, that's fine, but basically I'm talking about government money going in and out of the markets constantly through the Exchange Stabilization Fund, through the Federal Reserve System. Money going into the markets, buying up stocks with free money that they get for free. We have to work for it. They get it for free, and they can print it up and buy whatever they want. So rule by officialdom and or plutocracy. So that's the rich. Basically, do the rich run us? Well, kind of. So let's get into some more terms here. Very important. Fascism. Because fascism has a completely different meaning today than it did in 1980. Why do I say 1980, you say? That's because I do have a 1980 Merriam-Webster dictionary that my godmother gave me for Christmas when I was 9 years old. And it's well used, but it is an older dictionary. And the word fascism means basically what Benito Mussolini coined it as, who is the father of fascism. He stated, fascism should be more properly called corporatism, which is the merger of state and corporate power. So fascism is when businesses and governments get together and actually do things to introduce bills. In the form of government. In other words, in the way that the normal operations of government happen, it would be businesses coming in and buying votes. Literally creating new bills, doing things with the government that benefit the government, the corporations, and against the will of the people. That's fascism. Now, the new term for it is crony capitalism. So they changed the word fascism to something that had the word capitalism in it, which is, I believe, because they wanted to malign capitalism. Well, capitalism means free markets. So let's get into what free markets are. Free markets are what a free market is in general is the decisions made by everyone who participates in the market as a whole. It's kind of like a democracy with money. That's what free markets are. Well, basically, we don't have that anymore. I can go into, I already gave you the example here with the stock market, but I can go into the bond market too. There's manipulation there, not as much as the stock market. In fact, it's a lot less in the stock market. But let's go into commodities. Gold and silver are manipulated by big banks, central banks, and governments, and that is very true. There's tons of examples of this. They never get prosecuted for it, and when they do, and in the rare exceptions they do get prosecuted, they they find them for a tiny fraction of the amount of money that they were able to steal through manipulating gold and silver. Now I can go into other commodities, but I think you guys are getting the picture now. So, do we have free markets? The answer is no. Markets are far too manipulated to be called free markets. So, what do we have in America then? What do we have? We don't have democracy. Um, Maybe if you want to consider voting, that's our government. Voting is our government. That is not true. Voting is the act of creating your government. So, and it's a democracy to create the government. But what kind of government do you have once you created it? Well, the media and the government themselves will tell you we have a democracy and we have a constitutional republic. So, what is a constitutional republic? A constitutional republic is literally a government that's set up by the people, voted through democracy, where they actually make laws that honor the founding document known as the Constitution of the United States. That's a constitutional republic. But we don't have that either, which is, I'm very sad to say, that left us a long, long time ago. So what do we have left? Oh, by the way, if you want examples, I will give you examples. Please leave below in the comment section if you want me to show or do another podcast on how our government does not follow the will of the people, does not honor the Constitution. I can give you example after example with this. Obamacare is one. Gun control is another. You could go with the Electronic Surveillance Act that came through the Patriot Act. The Military Commissions Act of 2006, the National Defense Authorization Act, all of these bills and more. And once again, I could go into many more, but I don't want a big long podcast. So we understand now that basically the type of government we're dealing with here is not a democracy and is not a constitutional republic. So what do we have left? What we have is fascism and mixed in with socialism. That's what America is now. And it has been this way for a long time, by the way. This is nothing new. It was even before Obama, we had this problem. So I know a lot of people that I talk to like to blame Obama for everything. I blame him for many things, but fascism and socialism was here before he arrived. So how do we have fascism? Well, we have an unholy merger of government and corporations through the form of bailouts. We can say it for the banks, we can say it for the auto companies, we can say it for AIG. Let's go into Solyndra that Obama did. Solyndra got $500 million and then they just went away. They just took the money and ran. It was like a payoff for support or some kind of campaign contribution, I believe. Okay, so basically we've covered, the crony capitalism part or fascism part. I can go into more examples if you guys want. Please leave comments below. And by the way, I'm trying to be objective. I'm removing myself from the equation. I'm trying to look at this objectively. And if any of you disagree, please let me know in the comment section below, because I think my thought process, the critical thinking here, I think is right on. So why are we socialists here in America? Why are we socialists? We've been socialists a long time. A great example is the public school system. That is one example of socialism. So basically, you own a house, right? Wrong. You don't own a house because you have to pay property taxes. And that's in most states, by the way. I know there are some states that don't have property taxes, but there's very few. So basically, you pay property taxes to support the public school system. Well, what if you don't have kids in school? Do you get to get out of that? The answer is no. What if you don't like the school that it's going to and you want it to go to a different school? The answer is no. You live in a house, you live in a school district, you have to pay an enormous amount of money in the form of property taxes every year on your home. And if you decide you don't want to pay those property taxes anymore, then the government decides that you can't live there anymore. They take the house from you in what they call a property tax auction. So they'll go ahead and sell your house to whoever will pay your property taxes. That is socialism. That's a good example. Social Security, another example of socialism. But wait, TC, wait, Chimichanga, we actually pay into Social Security. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But what happens if you pass away before you can collect your benefits? Does it get written in a check and given to your next of kin? The answer is no. It goes to the broader public. That is socialism. So I've given examples of fascism and socialism, and I can give more if you guys want more, or we can do a larger podcast with more people involved if you guys want. However, I think I'm looking at this pretty objectively. So what we have here in the United States, we don't have free markets. Those are gone. Those are long gone. Government and large bank and central bank manipulation and control of the market system is well established. You'd have a very difficult time debating that with me. I know this pretty well. So we don't have free markets. We are not capitalist. We have not been capitalist for a very, very long time. So we're not capitalist. So people say the capitalist system has failed. No, it hasn't. It went to crony capitalism or fascism, which is because we had corruption. And when we have a central bank and when we have corrupt politicians, we don't have free markets. We have fascism. And that's exactly what we have. We have corrupt politicians, and I can give more examples of why I would call the politicians corrupt along with the central banks, but I've done this before in a Venezuela video. So if you guys can go back and watch a Venezuela video about why Venezuela failed, because it's the same problem we have here in the United States, corruption. So we have fascism, we have socialism. That's what we have here in the United States. Whether we want to admit it or not, whether we want to come to terms with the actual, definitions of the words, matters not. That's what we have. So we don't have a democracy, unless you want to consider voting a democracy, but that's it. And that is if you're willing to accept that, the voting system actually works here in America. I don't think it does. Far too much manipulation of the voting system. And that's done by government as well. So once again, that would go into fascism. So at any rate, that's kind of my take on this. I wanted to share this article with you. Of course, I will link it down below. And once again, I'm not trying to offend people. I'm really trying to get across a different point of view, a different perspective that most people don't understand, because the mainstream media doesn't tell you the truth about these things. They just don't. The government lies as well. So if your government's lying to you and the mainstream media is listening to you, or lying to you, why are you listening to them? Because you're not getting good information. We have severely dysfunctional system here in the United States, and the financial system is also incredibly dysfunctional. It has failed, and that's because we don't have free markets. The whole purpose of a business cycle, I don't mean to get into finance now, because this was meant to be on politics and definition of different types of government, but the important thing to understand about the business cycle, which is tied into actual capitalism, that's important, so I'm going to bring it in. So under a free market system, you have a business cycle if you have a central bank. And the reason you have to do it when you have a central bank is because there's going to be a little bit of shenanigans going on within your free market system, because you can print money whenever you want. And so we have here in the United States a business cycle that usually lasts somewhere between 7 and 10 years. And the reason we have crashes in the stock market, crashes in the economy, which we call recessions, is to clear out malinvestment within the system. That is the whole purpose of the business cycle. And then once that's cleared out, then the new healthy system that emerges from that crash can grow, and of course it'll get into, once again, malinvestment over time, which will lead you to yet another crash, or basically a recession. So we don't have those anymore apparently. We are in the longest period of economic expansion in American history, I believe, in the next month. In the next month, that would be the month of April, towards the end of April, will be in the longest period of economic expansion in history. Well, how did we get that? How was that happening? Because the Fed kept interest rates so low for so long, and because they kept printing money. That's QE1, or quantitative easing 1, QE2, and QE3. Lots of money got thrown into the system. It cheapened our money, though, so we've lost purchasing power. But that is why we don't have a free market system. We don't have it. because basically they can print money anytime they want and they can invest it any way they want. We have to work for it. So we try to be smart with our investments, but the central bank gets it for free. So I'm not 100% sure they're very smart about what they do with that free money they print for themselves. Okay. Sorry again about the long rant. I will link this story below. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes to listen to me today. Once again, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm trying to get some people to think about what kind of government we have here in the United States and why. If you have any comments below, please leave them below. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. Just let me know you watched the video. If you want more videos of this type describing the issues in America with politics and finance, let me know. We'll create them for you. We do have podcasts coming up with multiple participants. I know that's been asked for. It's been requested several times. So we will have that coming as well, and we'll get more opinions and points of view. So thank you once again for joining me. And again, I'm going to read my little libertarian statement at the end of this video. Income tax, so you don't own your labor. Sales tax, in case you thought you owned that money. Inflation, just in case you're foolish enough to save. Capital gains tax, to punish you for trying to get ahead of inflation. Property tax, so you know you can't own anything. Inheritance tax, so you can't pass on what little is left. Thanks again for listening, gang. You all have a wonderful evening. God bless you all.